Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. How's everyone doing this week? I'll give you an idea of where I am mentally. There was a small, tiny, less than a millimeter scab on my right pointer finger. And the other night, maybe 1 a.m., I'm going to bed, taking my contacts out, and I noticed it. And in my mind, I was like, oh, well, there's definitely a splinter in there. So I grabbed some tweezers and I started digging in my finger for an imagined splinter, right? There was no evidence of a splinter. I just assumed that for a wound that small. And now, mind you, all week, Naomi and I have been giving Dear Squee all these medications. His kidneys are not doing great, so he's getting medications, he's getting subcutaneous fluids, and so we've had to, in some cases, open his mouth to get some of this medicine in. And I'm sure at some point I got nicked. Again, this is not a deep wound. But I'm in there, again, in my mind, there must be a splinter. There's nothing. There was nothing. I finally kind of like pulled myself out of the reverie. I don't even know what you would call it. Anxiety-fueled reverie. Let's say it's that. Finally pulled myself and said, hey, before you actually do damage to yourself, maybe you should stop this, put some Neosporin on your finger, throw a Band-Aid on there and go to bed. But of course, had terrible anxiety dreams all night that somehow there was a splinter there and it got infected and they were going to have to take my finger off. So, that's where I am. But I'll tell you what, folks, the only cure I've got for what ails me, which is awful anxiety that is worsening as the world degrades into absolute fascism. But I'll tell you what helps, what gives me relief. Number one, watching Taskmaster at night with Naomi, cooking dinner, and then putting on an episode of Taskmaster. Number two, podcast, specifically today's episode, because today I'm talking to Rory Blank. And if you don't know who Rory is, I'm going to read you his bio right now. Originally from Carrollton, Georgia, cartoonist Rory Blank eventually ended up in Austin for college, where he began making cartoons for the student newspaper. In the early 20-teens, Rory began posting his comics online on places like Tumblr and Twitter and began to gain a following. Most recently, Rory was voted the best cartoonist in Austin in the 2025 Austin Chronicle Best of Austin Readers Poll for the second year in a row, and it's much deserved. I love Rory's cartoons. I've been a big fan of his for years. His sense of humor almost exactly matches mine. Equal parts despair and absurdism. Also, I gotta say, he makes fantastic t-shirts that are some of my favorite t-shirts in my drawers. And by drawers, I mean my actual physical wooden drawers. I don't mean slang for underpants. And I was super psyched when he said that he would be down to be on the show. And we talk all about, well, you'll hear. I don't have to give you a preview. It's not like this is going to be more than another 30 seconds, so you'll hear what it was. But it was lovely talking to Rory, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey, before we get there, though, coming up on the show, a lot of cool talk. Speaking of comics, I just talked to Mark Russell, fantastic comics writer, just most recently wrote X Factor, has written this amazing Batman and Superman, I don't know what they would actually call it, Elseworlds, kind of an alternate dimension version that is just brilliant. Carson McCone, great talk. Laura Balance from Superchunk, co-founder of Merge Records. That was so good. So look forward to those, but for now, let's talk to Rory. Rory, before we started recording, you were telling me that you thought you had just been voted, what is it, best cartoonist?
Best cartoonist in Austin in the Austin Chronicle Readers Poll.
And now that Austin has become fascist with Joe Rogan and everyone, that's like a huge, the fact that you were able to get enough people to vote for you, even though there's a bunch of like Theo Vaughns roaming the town, right? It's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about that I also I feel like I have to emphasize to anybody that I'm talking to when about the city is that like those people are here. Nobody cares about them being here. I mean, yeah, sure, people do care. Like, the rooms that are available have changed, and like now a lot of the comedy clubs that exist are associated with that. If you want, but there's like there has been an entire other comedy scene in Austin that has existed for like decades. That has other clubs that exist that people go to regularly. I don't actually know this for a fact, but I think that a lot of the people who go to like the mothership or whatever are tourists.
Probably.
It's basically like having like a miniature Branson, Missouri, and like a couple of blocks downtown that is like completely separate from the rest of the arts and culture of the city.
Right. But if Yakov Smirnov was more like Stalin, then
Yeah.
like that kind of Branson.
Yeah. But oh yeah. So to that end, also, I mean, it's not weekly that I won this award, and they have an award for best comedy club in town, and both the Mothership and I can't remember which one it was, but one of the other clubs that has popped up post COVID were both on the list, and the winner was a relatively small improv theater that's been here for a decade.
You won this award, and you had an idea.
I to try to entice people to vote for me, said that if I won this award, I would do a stunt show without really thinking about what that would entail. And then I was kind of scrambling for ideas. And one of the first things I thought of was staple the award to my chest because they give you a certificate for it. Then I remembered that because of some other stuff in my background and also the fact that I go regularly now, I know a decent number of professional wrestlers in town, and particularly I know at least one kind of notable deathmatch wrestler, and he probably knows a lot more about how to staple things to the human body than I do. So I asked him to do it. So after this recording is over, a 6'3", I think 230-ish pounds, very, very muscular man is coming to staple the certificate to my chest.
Yeah. Okay. So, as someone who the slightest bit of pain I run away from, this idea to me sounds awful.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is not, you did this. Did you say you would do this impulsively, or were you just like, well, if I win, we'll see what happens? Like what prompted this? Cause like,
it's something that I go back and forth on a bit, because like no one listening to this can see me, but I am mostly covered in tattoos.
yes.
I have about 10 hours done on a back piece. In addition to that, part of the reason that part of my entry into pro wrestling as a fan is that for about 8 years I was involved with a comedy wrestling promotion. I don't do stuff like that anymore because I broke my hand during a show, but I've fallen on a lot of things would be a good way to put it. I've my body has broken a lot of different objects.
I was imagining, by the way, your yearbook photo, and then underneath it just says "fallen on a lot of things."
I was voted most likely to return to my high school as a teacher.
Up until you said teacher, I was like, return to my high school as a shooter. What was going to be the noun?
Doing it again, getting a second degree.
So, okay. So you fall on a lot of things. So paint, you're not.
Yeah, I have a background in pain stunts, and I've done a pretty significant amount of body modification to myself. But also, at the same time, anytime I'm not doing that, I just think to myself, oh boy, this sucks. Why am I doing this? It's very fun and exciting in the moment, but I mean, ask any tattoo artist, anybody who's like done that substantially, they will all tell you, because I've been told this several times, they fucking hate getting tattooed more than anybody else.
Uh-huh.
Because the more times you do it, your body like does not adapt to pain. Actually, if I remember this correctly, like the more of a certain kind of pain you experience, the worse it gets.
No. Oh no. That's why I'm asking. Okay. Like, for instance, something I am dealing with lately. I either have a groin pull. Hopefully, that's the. I don't know why I put my fingers. The listeners can't see this, but I put my fingers in quotes. I didn't sleep well last night because I had to get a CAT scan today. Because if it's not a groin pull, it's been getting better, but it could be a small hernia, or let's hope that it's not something crazier than that.
Yeah.
But just this little bit of, it's not even a lot of pain. Like my wife, she asked me the other day, she's like, well, what, like on a scale of 1 to 10, what is it? I'm just like, I don't know, 1, maybe a 2 at most. She's like, are you kidding me? I thought you were in pain this whole time. Like, I walk around at a 4 or a 5 every day, and this is nothing. I mean, she was more sympathetic than that, but just like in that moment, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very curious about other people's relationships to pain, where again, like when I was thinking about it earlier, I was thinking about the same way that like a plant will grow towards the light. I will do the opposite towards even the most minor amount of pain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, like I said, I broke my hand. My drawing hand is deformed now because I was there was a on-site nurse. He wasn't actually an on-site nurse. He was just a guy who was there who was a nurse who was kind of drunk, who told me that he thought that I had just gotten a stinger. So I, instead of going to the ER, got drunk. And then that night trying to get back into my house, I could not turn the handle of my door because I couldn't grip anything. Because my hand was just swollen and in pain.
Oh God.
In addition to that, so I never went to the ER for it.
Ever.
I'm kind of missing this knuckle a little bit.
But it healed okay?
Yeah, I mean, I could still like grip things. I can still work. It gets kind of sore sometimes, but I don't even actually know that it's because of that, and not because, you know, as somebody who draws for a living, you get hand cramps. I had hand cramps before, and I have hand cramps now. I also have messed up my back a bit just from falling on it, both doing that and doing other performance stuff that I used to do, and just, you know, being a dumb kid and falling off of playgrounds, and being a dishwasher for a while, and it's just my back constantly hurts. Yeah, which I say all of to say that, like, I also just don't really think about it very much because it's just always there.
Well, okay, so this is what I'm interested about. I'm constantly talking to people about their relationship to having a body, and I think maybe as someone who's an illustrator, you probably have a more connected or more coherent understanding of having a body, whereas I hate having a body. I don't like I try to conceptualize myself as just being a brain, or like a
cloud.
Yeah, right. And I'm not. It's obviously we're all just like, you know, sacks of beef. But like, do you like the idea of all this stuff? Like, I talked to someone, a musician, a couple months ago, where he, as a kid, he spent a lot of time in the forest near his house, climbing trees, like going as high. And one time he fell and literally like fell his back on a rock, on like a larger rock, right? Ooh. And I'm just like, oh my, like I'm so used to, maybe it's partly this. I'm so used to narratives that I think that the minute you're about to do something like that somehow the narrative has to mean that you're going to break your back, or you're going to, like, something's going to happen that's going to change your life, because I'm thinking in terms of like how to write a story for TV or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's my fucked up problem. I think it's deeper than that for me, but like, I'm curious, like, what is your relationship to having a body?
So first, before I get into that, I just wanted to say also about specifically, like, I think there's kind of just this pattern recognition element to like expecting something bad to happen and you go rock climbing or whatever. Where, like, yeah, it did happen this one time, but like, I also ride a bicycle every day. I don't know how to drive. I've never had a driver's license. So the expectation then, if you're going from that perspective, is that like you're going to crash your bike every day. Just every time you go out, something horrible is going to happen where you just crash into a parked car or like go into a pothole and get thrown off. In reality, though, it actually happens like 2 or 3 times a year where I'll just like hit the curb wrong and skin my knee.
Yeah.
Every time you go like mountain climbing, you're not going to like end up in getting your arm pinned under a rock and like have to cut it off to escape. But you're going to remember that one time that did happen a lot more than every time that it went well.
Yeah. 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 And you know what? It's what I said was deeper. What I meant by that is like my parents raised me to believe that life is suffering and the worst thing's going to happen. Like I'm like, well, what's going to,
Yeah.
Obviously things are awful on a macro level and like the country descending into like real fascism is not, I'm not enjoying that. But like, on a micro level, I can walk out in the yard and like play with the dog and that can be okay. And I'm just like, why do I deserve? My brain's like, you don't deserve that.
Yeah.
There are people being sent to a fucking concentration camp in Florida and they're selling merch. Like you think you can play with your dog and have fun with your dog while, Nazi Germany happens outside?
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, again, a bad thing will happen to you like occasionally. The rest of your life, no matter what's going on, you kind of just have to keep going.
Yeah. Okay,
or
but that's
you're gonna die.
Sure, but that's
and you're gonna die either way. But like, you'll die a lot faster if you stop. Like, if you stop eating sandwiches because you might choke.
Right. Well, I'm not that. I still will eat food. Okay,
yeah, that was. I picked the most ridiculous option, but I've choked eating a sandwich. It has happened to me. You just swallow something wrong, and then like, I work from home. My girlfriend's at work. I have no other option but to just start punching myself in the chest, hoping that it comes out.
Rory, my absolute nightmare. I think about that all the time because I work from home mostly, and my wife is at work right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about I almost make my meals in such a way that they're choke proof. Like I'm like, I'll just have a kindergarten lunch. I'll have apple slices and like some popcorn. I'm not choking on that.
But I mean, you can kind of do the Heimlich maneuver to yourself if you just like hunch over and like squeeze your sternum really hard. It will work. Your only other option is just go out for lunch every day, but that's expensive. I don't know. Just go eat your lunch in a park.
Right. I was gonna say eat in public. Right.
Yeah. I like a year ago. I'm not allergic to bees. I should go ahead and say that straight up.
Interesting
but my
preface.
mom told me that I was when I was a kid.
Okay.
So, but I've been stung multiple times as an adult and nothing happened. And I don't have an EpiPen. But last year I was biking home and I'm pretty sure I got stung by a bee and I had a panic attack and thought like, I am going to probably die. I need to do something. And the only thing I could think to do was go to the my neighborhood bar, which is like 3 blocks from here, and just like tell the servers like, I just got stung by a bee. You just like keep an eye on me if I pass out. And then just sat there for like 23 minutes waiting just in case like suddenly I went into anaphylactic shock.
Mm-hmm. Now that anxiety is familiar to me. That resonates. But let me ask you though, you were not raised with a ethos that life is bad things are going to constantly happen to you. Again, my parents didn't say this out loud. It was just the vibe.
That's also kind of hard to say whether I was or not, because like I was raised agnostic to kind of vaguely like hippie new age adjacent. The first time I went to church was when I was like 15 because a friend of mine died of cancer. Uh, I was not really raised with any kind of like deep underlying beliefs, but I don't know. There were things that my mom was like my parents, more my mom because I was mostly raised by my mom because my parents got divorced when I was 4. She was kind of permissive about some things and other things like absolutely not. Like she would let me go ride my bike in the street by myself unsupervised at 4 or not 4, like 6 maybe. I don't think I could ride a bike when I was 4. Uh, but like she also wouldn't let me watch any movie that had like even any kind of discussion of sex in it. But and also like no violence in general except for like she showed me um Saving Private Ryan when I was 10 years old because it's
Oh,
historical.
sure. Sure. That's a very visceral first half hour, though, or
Yeah.
however long that.
Yeah, I saw that when I was like 10 because I was kind of homeschooled.
Oh,
I say
interesting.
kind of, I mean like my mom also had a job, so like half the time it would just be like her leaving me with a textbook and then going to work, which would mean that I would do the barest amount possible and then go wander around the creek near our house, and then we moved to the desert and then turned into wandering around to the desert by myself, which they got really nervous about me doing, but like they never stopped me from doing any of those things.
Interesting. So,
So I
wait.
would say like vague neuroses about something bad happening, but also that being in kind of a tension with being kind of hippie-ish and thinking like the kids need to explore, but also there something bad could happen, but just do it anyway.
I mean, I think you're younger than me. So, when I was a kid in the 1980s, there was still the kind of of permissive attitude where it's like, well, your kids, after school,
Mm-hmm.
they can kind of play outside and they have to be home before dinner. Right.
Yeah.
And there were no cell phones, so you didn't have to like check in. You just like, you weren't worried really. Like, we would play kickball
Yeah.
and we would, football and stuff in people's backyards. And it was just like, it was not a big thing that my parents wouldn't know. They would know vaguely where I was, but they wouldn't totally know. But like, I'm guessing you're younger. I'm guessing maybe you were a kid more in the 90s.
Yes, I am 35. So technically, I was a child in the 80s for about 6 months.
So, I mean, was that still a thing? Because like what I remember about the 90s was the phrase helicopter parents.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually know like how much this was true for a lot of other people in my cohort because I did not go to school until I was in high school. Until then, like all of my friends were online, and that also, like honestly, is a way worse situation than like you and your friends wander off, like go mess around in the woods for a bit, maybe like try to build a tree house, maybe walk across the state trying to find a dead body by a train track or whatever. Instead, you've got like people who are in their 20s or 30s who are talking to you and maybe like showing you weird stuff.
Oh.
Like I saw a lot of gore when I was a kid.
Oh.
Not that is just what happens if you're on the internet long enough, and also like I'm not trying to minimize this in any way, but I don't know. It's just like I've had the internet since I was like 5. Because my late stepfather was a computer programmer, and like no matter what you do, unless like your parents have very strict rules about what content you're allowed to look at, and they're monitoring you doing that. The internet has just like always been full of bad content.
But did you search it out? Because like I knew there was awful stuff. I knew there was like a forum called like Something Awful, and like there was like the worst shit in the world on that. But like I purposely stayed away from that. Did you actually seek it out, or was it that people like put it in front of you and you had to kind of see like Tub Girl or whatever?
So I I joined something awful when I was like 19. The website still exists. It's a really mixed bag. But no, I'm thinking more when I was like 11 or 12, and it's just like I don't know. You even if you're just going to like or thinking about like 1999 especially. So like you go on then nascent fan forums for Dragon Ball Z or whatever, or Pokemon forums, and eventually you find somebody who like just I don't know posts a link to rotten.com or something, and you end up going there by accident.
Oh yeah.
Or someone posts Goatsy, or
Right.
which like that picture does not bother me in the slightest at this point. I'm complete that one in particular like does not elicit any kind of response other than just oh yeah there he is living his dream, living his truth.
Sure. Yeah,
He's an old
honestly,
friend.
of all the stuff you could see, someone holding their butthole open.
It's pretty benign, especially like it's I don't like looking at tub girl. I don't know anybody who does like I'm sure fetishists, but people are like that's their thing. But otherwise, like yeah, no, a guy just holding his butthole open is nowhere near as bad as like I don't know, yeah, just poop spraying everywhere,
Dead
or
bodies.
dead bodies, or a guy sticking a jar up his butt and it breaks.
Oh God.
That's a real.
Oh well. Ugh.
He's fine. Someone figured out who that guy was somehow, and like he's fine. But a lot of blood came out.
Oh no. See, this is again. We go back to this thing where it seems like you are someone who is on some level okay with the visceral nature of being human. Whereas I am someone who's like, why does this have to happen? Why can't we live eternally as just thoughts?
No, I kind of do have that though. I'm also a very neurotic person. I'm just kind of, I guess, living in a tension of like both kind of accepting these things and just kind of having the positive half of me saying like just keep going, like fun stuff happens if you go outside, and the other half of me that is like you are going to get hit by a car today.
Mm-hmm.
Your time on Earth is very quickly running out and will amount to nothing.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't think that is part. I don't know that that's from anything that I was raised with as much as just being an innately worried person.
Well, okay.
And those two sides are just kind of in tension.
Was your mom, when you were growing up, was she a neurotic person? Was your stepdad,
Yes.
was your dad in your life at all? And was he?
My mom, very much so. She is a very worried person in general. Also had some diagnoses at some point in time, but that's her business. Not getting into that. My dad also is, I think, generally more upbeat, but also kind of somebody who I don't want to speak for him, and I don't know that he'd be super happy about me saying it, but like I know that he has like struggled with depression at points in his life also. But he's still a much more outgoing person than she is. I mean, if I go spend time with him, like he'll want to go out and do something like almost every night. If I spend time with my mom, she gets tired of being out after like an hour and a half and wants to just hang out at home. To them though, so they split up when I was 4, and that turned into I would have visitation weekends with him every other weekend, during which time like he would just be doing whatever he wanted to do, and sometimes that meant like watching Terminator 2 with me when I was 4, which would later ruin the X-Files for me because I was really into the X-Files when I was a kid, and I thought Mulder was the coolest guy in the world. And then he got replaced by the T-1000, and I was so scared of him. I was so scared of Agent Doggett because I knew that he could turn into
Liquid metal,
a metal monster and stab people through the head.
And he was a cop, which is worse. Worse than being a metal monster. Well, Mulder, let's
everyone on the X-Files was a cop. Unfortunately.
I guess. But they were like the least ACAB-y cops that you could see on TV.
I guess. I mean, but yeah, I mean, someone needs to stop people from being attacked by the fluke.
Yes. See,
someone needs to be the person to figure out what to do with a guy's parasitic twin that crawls out of his belly and kills people.
exactly. Exactly. There look, I'm saying policing as it exists now is the problem.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that you don't need
yeah.
investigators.
Even in even in like a socialist utopia, you still need somebody to do something about like people developing a disease that makes them sweat blood.
Exactly.
Wait, no, shit. I think that was Millennium. I've run out of stuff I remember from the X Files.
Honestly, I remember so little from the X Files. I remember a ghost ship at one point, and I think I remember the black goo, and that's about it. So
Oh yeah,
you could literally you could make up anything. I'd be like, oh yeah, that was a great X Files episode.
Uh, the
But
whole
yeah,
episode was just them following a dog in a top hat.
the one David Lynch did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It does a little dance at the end, and then there's a lightning clap, and then Mulder and Scully disappear, and then it says 3,000 years later, and a rock just falls into some dust, and you watch the dust billow out for about 35 minutes.
Honestly, would have loved that. If there was an X Files episode that was something like the 8th episode of Twin Peaks: The Return, it would have been one of the best hours of TV. If there was something like that.
That would have been so cool. Didn't they try to bring the X-Files back?
It was, yes, they did. It was not good.
I never saw it. I was just thinking about like if they'd gone the opposite route and if somehow it had turned into like this great prestige
Oof.
thing.
Oof. See, you could have. They could have. And that would have been amazing. But instead, it was just like trying to square the circle between what it was and trying to make it a prestige thing, and it fell between both chairs.
Yeah. Which I mean, Twin Peaks Return kind of did do that successfully. It's like
100% did it successfully.
Yeah, I mean, like it. I think that was one of my favorite things about The Return was just that, like, since the original was very much the soap opera that revolves around like the people of the town, and that is still happening in just kind of a corner where it seems like everybody in the town is just kind of like moving through this odd little clockwork world, going around their routines. This stuff is still happening. It's just so far removed from it that like it doesn't really. It's just kind of like an odd, absurd play happening in the corner.
Outside of, here's my only criticism of The Return. Don't give me this Dougie guy.
I love Dougie. I love Dougie so much.
Absolutely hated Dougie.
I think part of that might just be that like you spend most of the series thinking like, come on, when's Cooper coming back? When's Cooper coming back? Oh, come on. Why isn't Cooper back?
That's it. Look, give me Dougie for a couple episodes. I would have loved Dougie. Dougie for most of the series?
I liked it though, just because like at some point, like one, you can kind of tell that they're enjoying the facts that like they know that this is frustrating.
But that's what I don't. I hate the kind of storytelling where the person's like, these fucking rubes watching this, they're gonna be pissed off. I don't like that.
I kind of do that sometimes.
A
lot of my own work is just anti-humor.
For a cartoon, it's sure,
but it's also like in and out in 10 seconds,
exactly,
versus like 19 hours. But I guess like I just kind of enjoyed watching Kyle MacLachlan do this extended kind of being there as an action movie kind of thing. And Jim Belushi was great too.
Sure. I am not complaining about the acting. I'm not complaining about how Kyle MacLachlan was fantastic in every role. I am saying I did not want Dougie for 80 hours. I wanted him for give me a little bit of Dougie and then give me Agent Cooper. That's the only thing that I think was miscalculated.
I would say my big complaint is just that like, and I know that Twin Peaks is a show that does not care about David Lynch's work in general does not care about giving you the answers for everything. But I would have liked a little bit more information about that mob guy. Was it Balthazar Getty who played him? That was in a couple of scenes and like flipped a coin and it took too long to come down. And like you don't get any further explanation of like what his deal is.
You know what? Even that I'm fine with. One complaint. I have one complaint, and that's it. I'm not going to even criticize anything else.
I enjoyed it.
One complaint.
I liked that about it. I just kind of took it as itself that this funny thing is happening, and I'm just kind of going with it. Oh yeah, I think Balthazar Getty's it was Balthazar Getty, right? You'd also find out that he's like dating Shelley. It like that also is not elaborated on in any meaningful way. He just kind of shows up, does that. This is all very fresh in my mind because I just watched it in January this year because my girlfriend had never seen any of Twin Peaks, so and it was incredibly cold this January, so we just like in about a 2-3 week period just sat down and watched all of Twin Peaks together.
I have to ask then, how did she enjoy the transition from Twin Peaks from the 90s into Twin Peaks basically as Firewalk with Me?
She seemed really into it. I shouldn't complain about it at all. I think was like a little bit more jarred by more than anything the film quality change. I was noticing that I think a lot more than she was because David Lynch switched to an entirely digital workflow like towards the end of his career. And
post Inland Empire on. But anyway, sorry, this is not a Lynch podcast. This is, although I've enjoyed talking about it. We were talking about parents and you saw Terminator 2 way too early.
Saw Terminator 2. My dad would listen to the Ramones a lot. I remember hearing Dookie by Green Day in his car right after he bought it, just driving around Atlanta in his truck, blasting it. When I was like 5, my mom also, her favorite band is The Clash. I guess maybe that's the distinction to draw between my two parents is that my dad's favorite was the Ramones, or my dad liked the Ramones, and my mom liked The Clash, and The Clash is, I guess, maybe trying at least to be more cerebral and more or have higher aspirations for their music, but the Ramones just had one sound that they got really good at and just continued to crank stuff out with that one very specific quality for however many, was it 20 years, about 15?
I've never been a huge Ramones fan, so I just kind of I vaguely know like a handful of like their songs and who they are, but I've never really checked out their catalog, so I don't even know how long they've been. I know them more as characters on The Simpsons than I do.
Fair enough. Well, they're all dead now.
Oh, really? Jesus.
Yeah.
So, okay. But wait, did you actually like the stuff that your parents were showing you? Or were you one of
for the most part? I mean, I did not like Terminator 2 when I saw it as a kid.
Right.
It scared me really bad.
Sure. I mean, it's a metal guy with a metal skull and another guy that can like transform into and murder people.
Yeah. Horrifying to me. But at the same time, my mom also, when I was about that same age, showed me Watership Down, which is an awful thing to show a child.
Is it just
have you ever seen
rabbits warring? I read the book a long time ago when I was a kid.
Well, there's a cartoon version of it, and there's horrible, nightmarish sequences of like rabbits getting torn up in barbed wire and like eaten by other animals.
Oh, when I was a kid, we had The Secret of Nim, which it wasn't that visceral, but I think similarly it got in my head in terms of like, well, they're experimenting on these rats and the farmer's trying to kill them. Same kind of thing, but maybe not as bloody.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of blood in Watership Down. It's coming out of mouths and bodies of these rabbits, and whichever one of the rabbits it is that has like psychic or has like some sort of visions, just like sees like just blood soaking the fields, and like there's horribly tense orchestral music.
So wait, you're being shown this stuff. The music you're getting is more adult than maybe I don't know. I mean, I guess I was listening to, well, I don't know. I was listening to Weird Al, but also the
Oh
Beatles.
yeah, no, the first album I ever bought was Running with Scissors.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm getting a mix of this stuff too. But like,
Yeah,
is it affecting outside of like being scared of the Terminator? Is it affecting you in any other way that you're getting all this kind of like adult stuff?
I don't know. I mean that's something that I wonder about. It's like also, I mean, on top of that, like I think that does kind of end up influencing like the work that I do now because a lot of what I make is very dry and there's a lot of gross out humor throughout it, but a lot of it's kind of more to do with like gore than say scatological humor.
Body horror almost. The way that
Yeah,
like some of your characters just like dissolve into others or like
yeah, it's to some degree part of it is I think rooted in liking slapstick, but wanting to take that to an absurd place, and also part of it is that like I've had all this exposure to shock material as a kid,
sure,
but
sure.
also I think the stuff that I thought was really funny as a kid was also like in addition to like the Simpsons. I also watched Kids in the Hall regularly on in reruns on Comedy Central,
Yeah.
and I think that like that kind of bled into having I don't I I feel like it comes off sort of I don't all right, sorry. um I feel weird quantifying what my work is like because that's what I think of what I do is different from what any readers thinks of it, but I kind of think that like the tone of my work has more in common with like alternative comedy from the 90s and like alt comics from that period just because that was sort of what I was absorbing more than say the reference points that a lot of other people my age or younger have.
Like what are they saying is their
I
references?
mean, like everyone I knew then or know now from then like was really into Pokemon.
Uh-huh. And you're more like Mr. Show.
Yes, that my girlfriend knows the names of like most of the characters on a lot of Disney Channel TV shows, and she's a very smart person, not like demeaning or whatever. Like, but she watched Kim Possible. I think I've never seen Kim Possible. I had the complete Mr. Show on DVD when I was 12.
Uh-huh. You can name like all the characters they played through all four seasons.
It's probably about half. For whatever reason, like I also had like I had Dennis Leary's first comedy album when I was like just yeah. Imagine a 12-year-old wandering around in the desert listening to a guy chain smoking, talking about how miserable his existence is.
A guy from Boston. You're like walking, you're like, you can see Juarez from across the border, and you're just hearing some guy like, why aren't more people eating steak or whatever Dennis
Yeah,
Leary talked about?
yeah, and how
Yeah.
being physically healthy is overrated because he'll die of a heart attack. I remember being part of one of those routines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I had was it "Shut Up You Fucking Baby" by is that the
David
name of
Cross.
that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Bought that at Warehouse Music when I was 12
Wait a second. Wait. If your parents weren't religious, why did your mom homeschool you?
because she explained this to me last year. Actually, it was because she grew up in a military family and she got into punk rock when she was young. And so like that turned into this thing of like you can't trust the system, you can't trust the government. Not unreasonable, but also I think it's kind of psychologically bad for kids to homeschool them to the degree that like unless you have a robust support network and other kids that they can meet up with, and they're going to end up kind of stunted socially.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, yeah. I get really nervous about being in crowds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, we live in a country where being in a crowd is also a place where you can get shot at this point. So there's lots. I'm just saying, there's lots of reasons.
I get nervous being in crowds. I sometimes just default to I'm going to talk about like some dumb thing I learned about, like I'm giving a book report for 20 minutes if nobody stops me and have to like I have to go out of my way to practice talking to normal people to re-socialize myself periodically because if I just stay at home like I end up doing sometimes because of my work because I also work from home, if I don't keep that part of my brain well oiled, then I just kind of lose that ability and turn into like book report kid.
How did your parents end up in Carrollton in the first
How'd you
place?
find out I was in Carrollton? Did I mention
You didn't.
Carrollton?
I went online and I looked
There's
up.
information about me
Yes,
online?
but I love it when, if I talk to someone who works in comics, there is a 60-70% chance that they've done an interview with the
Mhm.
Comics Journal.
Oh yeah, I
Love it,
did
because
do
there's
that.
always a little bit of biographical information that I can.
I don't.
Carrollton, Georgia.
Yeah, I don't really know because I don't really remember that town very well. We moved to LaGrange when I was 4. Um, my parents were both born in Savannah, and I don't really remember much about Carrollton other than just that it's like one of those little towns that's outside of Atlanta by like an hour,
Mm.
but like a lot cheaper and more chill than living in Atlanta proper.
But it's like it's a satellite of Atlanta. Like Atlanta's like
Yeah,
the big, where Philly was the big city for me. Atlanta's the
yeah,
big city for you.
yeah. You're from Pennsylvania?
Yeah, Reading, Pennsylvania, which is like halfway between Philly and Harrisburg.
Mm.
If you're
I
familiar
have
at all.
I have a bit of an understanding of the geography of Pennsylvania. My late stepfather was from one of the suburbs of Philadelphia, also. So I
Mm,
went up there a couple times as a kid.
that's nice.
Yeah, I was there last year for WrestleMania weekend. It
Yeah.
was
So wait, so outside of Atlanta, then you moved to El Paso, and I'm kind of curious. Was your dad? Did he stay back in
yes,
Georgia?
yeah. He was. I think still is pretty mad about the fact that my mom decided to pursue a career in midwifery, whatever the word is there, and moved to El Paso to go to a clinic to train to be a midwife. And he's lived in Athens, Georgia, for about 20 years now.
Oh, cool.
He's kind of bounced between there and like other parts of Georgia and New Orleans a few times, but he's 60 now, so I don't think he's going to move again.
Sure.
And it's
Sure.
certainly probably not back to New Orleans since, it might disappear tomorrow. Great place, but you can't get home.
Right. Right. Yes, I loved visiting it.
Yeah,
Great beignets.
it's a beautiful town where you just have the constant looming fear that everything could be washed away in an instant.
Hey, you know what? That's going to soon be everywhere. So,
Yeah, I am constantly worried also about just living in Texas because it's getting hotter. It's getting hotter and drier, and the drought is getting worse every year. And the state government is terrible, and I don't know what it would take to replace Greg Abbott to get him to go away and not have it be just his hand-picked successor.
yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious, like when, we're in these like kind of early stages of things really kind of dissolving.
Mhm.
I'm really curious what happens when a lot of people, when it's not just like a handful of people that maybe you don't really know are getting, kidnapped by ICE.
Mhm.
When it's like someone from a Home Depot parking lot, when it's like your neighbor,
Yeah.
and it's happening more often. And at the same time, I mean, I live in Los Angeles. The city was on fire for January.
Yeah, I remember. I was in the airport for about half an hour during that, and I could just see how hazy it was outside.
It was insane. I still have PTSD in quotes, and I'm not
Yeah.
pretending like it's anything. But like, I walked out to take my dog to the backyard to pee last week, and I smelled burning.
Mhm.
And I freaked out immediately. Like I like got into the kind of like a panicky mode. Not, it wasn't that bad. That's why I like PTSD in quotes. But like
Yeah.
it definitely was like, what's on fire and is it near me? And I think it was just the neighbors.
Yeah, no, I think that is. I wouldn't even put that in quotes because, like, I mean, you we're recently in a situation where like a lot of people, probably people that you know, I don't know who you know, but assume that people you know lost their houses,
Yep.
lost their livelihoods,
Yep.
all gone in a second. I just like so like I think like having that have happened very recently, it makes total sense to react to something like that, to think like, oh shit, this is it, it's coming back. When I smell burning, I just think, oh, I'm gonna have a stroke now. Which I don't think is even real. I think I read recently that that doesn't actually happen, that you smell burning as a sign that you're going to have a stroke.
Oh, so it's just like something someone made up?
I
Then
guess.
how am I supposed to know I'm having a stroke besides having it?
You go numb and you fall over. And that's
Cra-
it. You just hope someone's around. Get a life alert.
And we're back to the choking thing where
Yeah.
there's just too many ways where like if some other person's not around, there's too many ways for it to all end.
Yeah, no, it could just happen. I could die right now.
Rory, why are you doing
I
this
could
to me?
have an embolism right now. It's terrifying, but
Yes.
I
Why are
don't
you
really
doing this to
have
me?
an option to other than to keep going.
Yes, I think that's the thing. Going back to what you said earlier, where it's like there's no other I mean, there's an option. You can choose when and where yourself, but
Yeah.
outside of that, it's just all right. I guess I got to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's the
Yeah.
fear. I think this is what I was trying to get at earlier
Mhm.
was that I seem to be a fear-based person. You seem to be less of a fear-based person.
It depends on the day.
Okay.
I think it
But
kind of depends on how much I've slept the night before. Like
mm, hmm. But it seems like like, I mean, at when you were like what 11, that's when you moved to El Paso. That's when your mom
mhm,
decided to change careers. I
mhm.
mean, that's pretty bold. You have a kid. Was your stepfather in the picture at that point?
Yeah, they were together from shortly after my parents' divorce to I want to say 2006 or 2007 would have been when they split up.
Mm.
Um, but then they had a period of a couple of years where they weren't really talking, and then like some stuff happened where consecutively they both got into or bike accidents and ended up like in the hospital, and they
Oh,
still had each other's phone numbers as emergency contacts, so they ended up like having to go to the hospital to help the other one. And then also they had a kid together, and what ended up happening is like eventually uh, for when I was in high school, my mom moved out and we moved to downtown, and I literally could see Juarez from where I was because downtown El Paso is like on a hill, and Juarez is at the bottom of the hill. And so I was at the top of the hill, so like I could just see across. I could literally see over the Rio into Mexico. Never been there because when I was in high school was the murder capital of the world.
right. You ever read Charles Bowden?
No.
He's great, but he's who writes a lot of stuff. I mean, he's passed away, but like he
Mm.
wrote a lot of stuff about Juarez and about Juarez is like I think he called it like the factory for the future or the laboratory for the future.
Mm.
But basically, like this is what everything's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic writer, one of my
Yeah.
favorites. Highly
Uh,
recommended.
think one I haven't read it, but I think one of Cormac McCarthy's novels is I think based around the idea of imagining El Paso and Juarez as Sodom and Gomorrah to some degree.
Hmm, makes
I
sense.
in a very abstract sense. I just like I know that he said that. I think he said that about it. I couldn't remember which novel it was though. I know that the road I think he said was about him going back to El Paso with his kid and just wondering what the city was going to look like in the future.
Mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so yes, so growing, so El Paso,
Yeah.
you can see down into Juarez.
Yeah, that's about it. There's not really much to say about El Paso, honestly. It's a very boring place. There's stuff going on. And also, like everywhere, is full of nice people who are trying to get about their lives. But I think that, like, there's a reason that, like, At the Drive-In is probably the biggest band from El Paso. There's something in their music that, like, I think kind of reflects, like, the tension of growing up in this kind of weird liminal space where like El Paso is I use the I think I'm using the word liminal space correctly because like the actual definition it has this internet definition where it's like a kind of spooky abandoned place, but the actual definition is like a place that's kind of a transitional space between two other points.
Right. Yeah.
El Paso was supposed like its economy at one point was that it was a big port city for imports from Mexico, and then like other trade routes emerged and it stopped getting used for that. But like it's called the past. It's a place where things are supposed to go in and out of, but also not much else is happening, and also that industry left, so it's just kind of a spot that's there, and you're like surrounded on almost every side by a vast expanse of nothingness that goes out.
It's like Las
Seemingly
Vegas,
forever. Yeah,
where you've got casinos, and that's the main thing. But you have, I mean, there's schools. People live there.
Oh God, I've been to Las Vegas twice this year actually, and I both times found it very eerie. Ending up on the highway, like outside of the strip, where like if you're walking on the strip, you see these big, bright neon signs everywhere. You have this very manicured image of like the picturesque version of the city that is what they want you to see. And then if you go out onto the highway at all, you see the unlit backsides of all those buildings, and it feels like walking behind a set and seeing the other side of the flat where it isn't painted.
But okay, so you're growing up in this liminal space then. Your mom, this is what my original point was, like, it's pretty bold, I think, for your mom to say, well, this is what I want. I know, my kid's 11. We're going to move to a new state, to a new city, and I'm going to pursue the thing I want. You know, that seems bold.
Yeah. So I should also add like that she is now a nurse practitioner. She being a midwife is like a much tougher, I think, route to take because the legality of it varies a little bit depending on which state you're in. A lot of it's very much through like word of mouth, and also like most people are going to choose a hospital birth. So you have a very small slice of possible people who are both pregnant and also do not want to go to a hospital, and also they might end up having to go to a hospital anyway. But yeah, I don't know if it was what she always wanted to do, because I mean I know that in college she and originally because she left college after she had kids the first time, and then she went back to school around the time that I started going to college also. But during her original first attempt at college, she was like a classics major. I think she could still read Latin. I have no clue what she wanted to do with that. I mean, I don't really know what you can do with that other than become a classics professor.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Author, translator. I guess you could write.
Yeah, but even then, also, yeah, I think like you could write academic papers about it. I think there's like vanishingly little left of Latin that needs to be translated, and a pretty big pool of people who already know how to do that.
You could go to a Catholic mass, and
she's not Catholic. I don't know.
I'm just saying you could.
I don't know how she ended up deciding at some point that I'm not. I hope she doesn't listen to this, or she does listen to it. She doesn't think that I'm belittling her interests, but
I don't think you are. I took Latin in high school. I know Latin. I mean, I still know a little bit.
Yeah.
At this point, I've forgotten most of it, but like, I thought two things. One, I liked the teacher a lot, and two, I thought it would help me on my SATs because I could just pick apart a word from knowing.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh,
enough.
Congratulations. It might also just been like, this is entirely speculating and going more into, I think, my own brain and how my brain works, and assuming that it's the same thing with my mom. I took Japanese in high school, and then for whatever reason in college switched to Russian. And in both cases, I really kind of have to conclude as an adult that it was less to do with like an interest in the culture and more just thinking like, I'm a clever boy. I'm going to show how clever I am by learning this completely alien language that has nothing in common with the language that I speak and has a different alphabet.
Yep, that speaks to my heart. I was also a little clever boy.
Yeah, and I think that might be kind of the draw of Latin to some degree.
Yeah, I think.
But that one's more practical because you can like use it as a basis to learn Spanish, which is also very useful if you live in El Paso or as she does now in New Mexico, where
Mhm.
you run into people who speak Spanish. And I fucking regret so much that I didn't just learn Spanish because I live in like
Yeah.
this. I think the state with like the largest number of Spanish speakers, and I've worked in a kitchen.
Wait. We're towards the end. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I am before someone comes to staple something to your chest.
I've got an hour.
I am curious though. At what point do you do you start to form existential desires for what you want out of life?
I don't know fully because I feel like I've always there have been different phases where I've wanted to do something or other as far back as I can remember, and that starts from like when I was 3 or 4. I wanted to be a baseball player because my dad liked to watch baseball. Then I actually like went to a baseball game and was so bored by it that I fell asleep. But there was like definitely a period of a few months where like I wanted to be, I like had this desire that that was the thing I was going to do. There was also a period when I was a small kid or when I was like 6 or 7 where I, my mom also like had a bunch of comic strip collections as a kid. So like I read a lot of Calvin and Hobbes. I also, for whatever reason, and it's a good comic, but like I read Bloom County,
Mhm.
all of it. It's a good comic. The reason why I was like kind of, I guess, dismissive sounding about it is just that like as much as I thought like this is very funny, there's a talking penguin. There was also so much shit in there about Reaganomics that like I cannot fathom like what I got out of it as a child.
I think it gave me a. I was about to say vocabulary. I think it put those ideas in my head. I'm like, because Steve, is that the name of the
Yeah,
human guy, right?
yeah, Steve Dallas.
Wasn't he like a Reaganite? Wasn't he like kind of a Alex P. Keaton type?
Yeah, he was. So think about that. Actually, also is that Bloom County, excuse me, was the spinoff from Burt Breathed's college comic strip that he drew for the Daily Texan, my alma mater, and also I'm pointing right now because it's about half a mile that way.
Uh-huh.
But in that comic strip that became Bloom County, I don't remember what it was called. I think it was like College Days or something like that. Steve Dallas was a shithead frat boy.
Aha.
And
Makes
so,
sense.
yeah, so in his arc in Bloom County is becoming just like a shithead lawyer was the extension of like the kind of good old boy that you see and used to see and still see around Austin.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But also, that where I was going with why I brought this up to begin with was that for some reason, as a 7-year-old, I thought that he was really cool. And I told my mom that I wanted to be a lawyer because I thought that being a lawyer meant wearing sunglasses and smoking cigarettes and drinking beer.
Okay.
And then my mom explained to me what a lawyer was, and I lost interest entirely.
Sure. The minute you find out what you got to do.
Yeah.
I thought I might have been a lawyer. I took the LSATs. I got my letters of recommendation. And then I actually thought about, I had a panic attack, like the only panic attack I've ever had in my life. I actually thought about what I would be doing as a lawyer. And it felt so awful that I pulled all the like applications and I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's necessary. I'm happy with that. I have to have a lawyer for entertainment stuff. And
Yeah.
he's very good and
You should get a lawyer.
it's very helpful, but it legitimately felt like death.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I have friends who are lawyers, and like, it seems like it's something that might be very fulfilling depending on what you're doing with it. But also could be incredibly tedious, or could be both. Like, I have a friend who I think does like laws to do with zoning, and subsequently like knows a lot about like the laws about how you have to organize an intersection and like how traffic poles are supposed to be. And like he cares about the results of that a lot, which is like making sure that things remain up to code and like keeping people safe. But like the minutia that you have to be able to memorize in order to stick with it, and then like being able to maintain the very staid language of writing a legal brief.
Yeah. Yeah. Not fun.
Seems crushing. But but also something that I could imagine feeling like extremely powerful.
Sure. But okay, so the dream of being a lawyer dies.
Yes.
And then what takes over?
Directing movies.
Sure. Great.
Which I feel like if not everyone, at least every man in America at some point as an adolescent.
Maybe. I didn't know. I knew, obviously, that when I was a kid that people directed films because I heard that, Spielberg. I knew that was a person that I guess made this thing. It didn't register what it was or how the job worked or anything like that.
Oh yeah, no, like I thought he was as an 11-year-old thought that he was like the greatest auteur director in the world because he was the only director whose name I actually knew, and he made Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park was cool, so therefore he's the best director.
Right. You knew James Cameron from Terminator 2, maybe?
I actually didn't learn his name until I was like 20. I didn't actually know what his name until I think Avatar came out, even though I also saw Titanic and True Lies was on TV a bunch when I was a kid.
Yep. So
it turns out he's a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
I had no conception of that. I just knew that Steven Spielberg made Jurassic Park, so he's the best director.
But wait, how does that dream die?
Slowly and gradually, I think over the course of going to college and not getting into film school, and also, like, I've been drawing this whole time, and I'm looking for a creative outlet, and I start submitting comics to my school newspaper and get accepted, and I would beg people to please not go look at them because they are fucking awful. I didn't know what I was doing. I was not good at drawing. I just like to doodle. But even though, like, I swear they're awful. Please do not look at them. If you do look at them, please don't talk to me about them.
You're Streisand affecting this now. You're saying don't look at them. Now people are going to want to.
But I will say that also they're under a different name than the name that I use now.
Corey Blank.
Full secret. I don't use my legal name in my work.
Smart.
So I also used to work for the state government.
Okay.
There is a state resolution from 2015 that has my legal name in it. I've probably given too much information now because now you know where a list exists that has my name.
I'm not going to look it up.
What I did was like I just like carried pieces of paper from one office to another. I was not involved in like in policy in any way. I was not working a technical job. I was doing like the kind of entry level work that like anybody off the street could do.
But it is interesting when I had a similar idea, but I didn't want to actually like follow through with coming up with an actual alias. But when I was working day jobs in New York, I would give them my full legal name, Andrew Beckerman. And then all my comedy stuff was Andy Beckerman. Ooh. So they would have to think to look up my nickname if they wanted to find out that stuff. And the ruse was like a 5-year-old's ruse. They figured out who I was at every single one of these day jobs within like 5 seconds. So it obviously didn't work, but okay. So you're drawing this entire time. At what point are you like, well, maybe this is what I should be doing, or maybe this is what I actually want to be doing?
So in combination, so I didn't get into film school. That's fine. I very much into DIY stuff. Always have been. I had the thought like, I could just do my own thing in my free time. I could still get in. I worked on a bunch of short films in college. I helped a lot of people with various stuff doing like, I would help write scripts. I directed a few. I did special effects on a bunch of my friends' stuff because, doing DIY stuff, I got really interested in making gore effects at some point. Again, working out this thing with fascination with human anatomy that I think is apparent in my work and liking horror movies. But being on a film set, even for a short film, sucks. Maybe it's better for like an actual production where like there's an AD and they know what they're doing and everybody's on like a tight schedule together, but it is so tedious. And I hate coordinating around other people's schedules. Showing up for this is fine, but like the second that you have more than like 2 people working on something, it just gets more and more stressful.
Right. Yeah, you definitely need a producer at some point.
And drawing is something that you can do by yourself and nobody can stop you from doing. Making a zine by yourself is something that you were in complete control over. I'm not like a control freak where like I feel like my vision has to be executed exactly. I like collaborating with people on stuff, but also like the downside of that is that it kind of can suck if other people also like are very very intent on having something. It's so hard to find people that are like actually good collaborative partners to work with where like there's a good push and pull where you come up with something that like both sides are proud of and it doesn't turn into like one person's vision much more than the other person's, and you just kind of have to go with that. And I don't like fighting for my side of that idea when I could just do it by myself completely alone and nobody could stop me.
Uh-huh.
And also I had some pretty big stretches of unemployment in my 20s, and it's very easy to do this thing by myself in my.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in your 20s, you're like right after the financial crash.
Yeah, I couldn't get a job as a delivery boy for Jimmy John's.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I mean, unfortunately, I moved to New York with the promise of like a day job that my friend could have gotten me. And then 2 weeks later was the financial crash. And then that job evaporated. And then it was just, 4 years of just scrounging for whatever temp job I could find.
Yeah, I started college in 2008. So like I had a little bit of a delay where I thought like, oh, this will all be worked out by 2012.
Nope.
Nope. Was not kidding. I applied to work at Jimmy John's as a delivery bicyclist and got rejected. I applied to hundreds and hundreds of jobs in like every single field you could think of until eventually I got a dishwashing job at an Alamo Draft House.
Oh, okay.
That was after like a year and a half of unemployment.
Did they give you free food?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And being really gross. And also like during that period of time, also like I ended up being unhoused for like a year, which sucked. And also I think that is, I was thinking about this today actually, because I was thinking about like, why did I decide I want to have a piece of paper stapled to my chest? What am I getting out of this? And I remembered for the first time in a while that like, when I say I was or that I was homeless, I mostly slept on people's couches. I did do it, but there were very few nights where I was just like straight up on the street. There were a couple nights where like I remembered that I knew the passcode to get into UT's newspaper's office and snuck in there and slept overnight because they all knew me because like I'd been working on the paper, that no one said anything about the fact that I was sleeping there. But at some point during that, I think this is obviously like an incredibly depressing experience where like I felt terrible all the time and was very worried about a lot of stuff. And honestly, the thing that I think was like the first thing that like really made me feel hopeful again was somebody showed me the final match of I don't remember the name of the wrestling promotion, but the King of the Deathmatch tournament final match between Mick Foley, if you know who that is.
Is that Mankind?
Yeah. This was back when he was Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack versus Terry Funk. And they were like falling on barbed wire and like jumping off of ladders onto burning boards stuff. And at first I was just horrified by this, thinking like, why would somebody do this to themselves? And to that point, like I had not really watched pro wrestling, and like I just had this very set idea like pro wrestling is fake, none of this is real. And now I'm seeing a guy like getting lit on fire, and there's blood coming out of his head, and you cannot fake falling onto barbed wire. And like at that point in watching this guy do it, like he's Mick Foley's my favorite pro wrestler, but he's not like an Adonis, so to speak. He's a chubby guy.
Right. And
I'm watching him and I'm realizing like this is a guy who cares so much about what he's doing as an art form that he is willing to sacrifice his body for it. He's willing to like just completely fuck himself up for the sake of his art, for the sake of entertaining people. The amount of determination that you have to do something like that is incredible to me. And somehow that made me feel hopeful in a way that I had not in like a year. Watching this guy just be willing to completely push himself into the thing that he cares about for the sake of the audience. It was an incredibly selfless thing to do, to just mangle yourself for other people's entertainment.
Rory, what a great full circle moment. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. This has been a fun talk.
This is great. I love your work.
Thank you so much.
And I'm so glad that we could talk. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, oh, 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 bye. Bye.